something you want to do, then go after it, breaking through everything, with nothing in mind but your aim, all will, all concentration, and get it. This is a direct quote from Ayn Rand at the age of 22, after only being in America for 1 year. As you can tell, she had a lot of ambition at such a young age, which later on gave influence to our society today. But she did not start out this way. She started as a little girl in Russia named Elisa Rosenbaum. Today I'm going to discuss the road of Ayn Rand through her novels, philosophy, and influence on society. Let us start with the progression of her novels. She's most famous for Atlas Shrugged, The Fountainhead, We the Living, and Anthem. What's interesting about her novels is that they revealed outlooks on her life. Before these novels, though, she attempted to write one at the age of 23 in English. According to Peikoff, who owns all of her diaries and journals, the first novel would have been called The Little Street. Its theme was humanity, warped by corrupt philosophy, destroys the best in man for the sake of mediocrity. However, she didn't finish this novel. She realized she was writing her own personal hatred about the world because of what she had just experienced in Russia. After her first attempt, though, she didn't give up. She wrote The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. According to Jeff Britting, who is the curator of the Ayn Rand Institute, it took 7 full years of her life to write The Fountainhead. Its theme was keeping one's own individuality. This was really important for Ayn Rand, just because she survived what she went through in Russia by keeping her own ambition and her own individuality and not falling in with the crowd. Atlas Shrugged has 2 themes, the importance of mind and evils of collectivism. She wrote about the importance of the mind just because she was a philosopher and an intellect, and she realized how much value the mind can have. She wrote about the evils of collectivism because she realized that America was on the rise of that and falling in that direction, and she did not want America to turn out like Russia did. As you can see, though, Rand's thoughts and views that are portrayed in her novels are based on experiences in her life that changed many more lives. Now that we went through her novels, let's discuss her philosophy. Ayn Rand created this whole new school of thought called objectivism, which is the belief that certain things, specifically moral truths, exist independently of human knowledge or perceptions. This definition is according to William Thomas, who is an economics lecturer at the University of Albany. Rand is known to say, "My philosophy in essence is the concept of man as a heroic being, with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productive achievement as his noblest activity, and reason as his only absolute." Ayn Rand said this in the appendix of the Atlas Shrugged. Objectivism is also called rational individualism. This is an optimistic school of thought. It is known for just achieving happiness in general, but it's much more than that for Rand. It's knowledge making you happy, and knowing the fact that you can achieve goals in life. You can set something and achieve it in life just by using your knowledge, and that is what made her happy. The heroes of this kind of school of thought would be people who start or run businesses, invent technologies, and create new ideas or thoughts, just like Rand did. So far, we have discussed her novels and her philosophy. Now let's look at her impact on society. Ayn Rand was, and still is, a major influence on women. 2 of her very famous novels, The Atlas Shrugged and We the Living, have women as major characters. Dagny in Atlas Shrugged was a beautiful feminine female who started and ran her own business by herself without having any help or support. During the time period that the novel is written in and the time period the novel was written at, not many women wrote and did that. Wrote novels in general about women, and not many women had businesses on their own. Kira in We the Living had wanted to be a railroad worker, which back then was called a man's job. And the fact that Ayn Rand wrote about that means that she basically paralleled it to her life, and because writing a novel was apparently a man's job, and she proved that you can do like any job you want no matter your gender. Ayn Rand was also against being the stereotypical housewife. She believed that women and men should both have equal work inside and outside the house, whether it be cleaning dishes or providing income for the family. According to Peikoff, Ayn Rand was also believed to say that a woman who tolerated unfaithfulness from the husband was just being unfaithful to herself and that she deserved better. Things like this made women want to excel in their personal lives as well as their careers. Ironically though, in the 1960s, she was against feminism because back then feminism wasn't just about gaining your right as a woman, but it was mainly about almost being dominant over a man, and she believed equal rights for men and women. She also wrote plays and screenwrites in Hollywood. Back then, women also did not do that very often, and she showed that you can do whatever you want. Besides being an influence on women, though, she was a major influence on society. In Anthem, a novel about recreating a light bulb in a dystopian society, taught us to have our own individuality and to think for ourselves. In the novel, the word I is never in the entire novel because they spoke about the collective we. And it's also introducing another word. The word I in the entire novel comes at the end when he finally creates the light bulb and thinks for himself. Besides, though, through the novels, she helped in real life. She discussed this man, Hickman, and he was a man who kidnapped and murdered a little girl. Now, obviously, he was sentenced to death, but before he was able to die because of the courts, people kidnapped him and hanged him in the streets for display. Why, you may ask, she wrote about this and created a play about this? Well, because she realized that that entire mob had mass hatred, and that mass hatred was spreading in America. She realized that you should not have this mob mentality or majority mentality. You should think on your own. You know, he was already being punished for his crime. He was going to die anyways, and he did not deserve to be hanged in the middle of the streets just for people's amusement and display. Another thing was this majority had trouble with their ultimate power against a man being challenged. Ayn Rand challenged that, and she compared it to Russia and how you could not challenge that power, but even though you should. She believed that one should think for themselves and always ask questions about authority. Not necessarily challenge it per se and go against it, but question its motives. Besides being an influence on society and women, she was also an influence to people our age, college kids and 20-year-olds. She moved from Russia all by herself. She had nowhere to go. She just got clearance and she moved to New York on her own. Her parents and her family could not come with her. So she had nowhere to go, nowhere to sleep that night when she got there, nothing to eat, no income at all. She had literally worked from the bottom up. She also taught 20-year-olds to never give up on your ambition. After her first novel and it not being a success, she didn't give up. Instead, it took her 7 full years to write an incredible novel. That novel, The Fountainhead, was not popular at first either. It was only popular later on in life and became even more popular after she had died. When you go into a store now, you will see the names of the works of her. And either, if you don't know her name, you'll at least know her work. That's how much power she gave to the world. She is such an influence in the life that there is now an Ayn Rand archive at the Ayn Rand Institute. This archive has journals, books, her diary, everything you can think of that you could look at to seek influence from. So in conclusion, Ayn Rand is a major influence on society. Her novels shaped the view of the individual over the whole. She introduced a new school of thought called Objectivism, and she continues to influence society today by being a good role model for women and how our government should be.